Hello, you're watching Addleshaw Goddard's Employment Channel. We're now pleased to bring you the second of our two special roundup programmes, summarising the most important developments from the past couple of months. In today's news programme, we focus on proposed changes to employment law legislation. We'll review some of the key aspects for employers of the Enterprise and Regulatory Reform Bill, which is currently before Parliament, and also have a quick look at some of the most important current consultations on employment law. Starting off then with the Enterprise and Regulatory Reform Bill. This was introduced on the 23rd of May and is currently before a Public Bill Committee in the House of Commons until the 17th of July. This bill has been a real hot topic over the past few months, as it contains a number of important proposed changes to existing employment legislation. The bill includes proposals such as compulsory ACAS conciliation for all employment tribunal claims, alongside extended time limits for bringing claims. To resolve straightforward claims more quickly, the bill suggests appointing new legal officers at the tribunal who will deal with certain simple or low-value claims, such as non-payment of holiday pay, with the consent of the parties. The bill also amends the Companies Act 2006 to introduce binding shareholder votes on directors' pay. Perhaps of more concern to employers, though, is the proposed introduction of financial penalties for employers who lose employment tribunal claims where there's been an aggravating feature. The explanatory notes to the bill suggest that, as far as those aggravating features are concerned, tribunals should only take into account information which has come to light during consideration of the claim. And relevant factors might include, although wouldn't be limited to, the size of the employer, the period of the relevant breach, and the behaviour of the parties. The notes add that aggravating features might include circumstances where perhaps the employer's action was deliberate or committed with malice, or where there was a dedicated HR team within the business, or where the employer repeatedly breached the right concerned. So it follows that where an employer's breach is perhaps a genuine mistake, or the employer is a small business, has only been operating for a short period or only has a limited HR function, that tribunals would be less likely to find an aggravating feature. The amount of the penalty would be 50% of any compensation award made to the claimant, subject to a minimum of £100 and a maximum of £5,000. Whilst employers will be able to reduce the financial penalty by 50% if they pay within 21 days, the reputational damage such a finding might cause is likely to be of greater concern. However, there is better news for employers in other areas. The bill plans to change the cap in unfair dismissal compensation, which is likely to result in a slight reduction. This is because it will operate as the lower of either a specific figure falling between £26,000 and £78,000, the final figure is still yet to be confirmed, or 1 year's earnings of the claimant. There are also plans to prevent tribunals hearing claims of unfair dismissal from being able to take into account any discussions or offers that may have taken place about terminating the employment on agreed terms. This goes further than the current without prejudice rule, as there will be no need for an existing dispute to invoke this proposed protection. However, on the current proposals, these protected conversations wouldn't apply to automatically unfair dismissal claims, such as those including a whistleblowing element, nor to discrimination claims. Finally, of particular interest for employers is an amendment to current whistleblowing legislation. Under the proposed changes, whistleblowers would only be protected under the law for disclosures made in the public interest, as well as in the reasonable belief of the worker making the disclosure. Helen Corbett, an associate in our employment group, comments on what this change means for employers.
The requirement for qualifying disclosures to be made in the public interest aims to close a loophole which currently allows employees to blow the whistle on breaches of their own employment contracts. It's generally agreed that this probably wasn't the purpose for the original legislation. However, the proposed amendment has received criticism from those who argue that it will deter workers from making important disclosures about wrongdoing. So, where does this leave employers? Well, we will update you on the progress of the proposed change as the bill passes through Parliament. In the meantime, employers are advised to have a well-publicised whistleblowing policy and procedure to encourage workers to raise any concerns internally. This policy should encourage a culture of openness and ensure that managers and workers are aware that victimisation for using the procedure will not be tolerated. The policy should indicate what kind of matters are regarded as relevant failures or wrongdoing and include a clear statement that issues raised will be taken seriously and handled promptly. Workers should be able to raise concerns through a different reporting route to the usual management structure. It's also a good idea to refer to the disciplinary action that might result from someone making false or malicious allegations, and the policy should outline the proper ways in which concerns should be raised outside the organisation where necessary.
Thanks, Helen. As a few government consultations have popped up over the past few months, we thought it might be useful to review what areas of employment law look ripe for change in the near future. First up is the consultation on modern workplaces. This actually closed a while ago now, last August, whilst the government has just recently decided to take forward one aspect of the consultation, which we'll come to in a moment. Any further response to the consultation has been delayed owing to ongoing debates within government. As a quick reminder, this consultation looked at, amongst other things, extending flexible working to all employees with 26 weeks continuous service and requiring employers to consider all flexible working requests reasonably. It also looked at extending flexible parental leave to provide for an 18-week period of maternity leave for mothers, followed by a new shared period of 34 weeks for mothers or fathers. It also suggested that fathers should be able to take unpaid leave to attend antenatal appointments. The same consultation also contained proposals to amend the working time regulations to allow workers to carry over annual leave into the next leave year where they hadn't been able to take it or had been unable to take it because of maternity, paternity or parental leave. There were also proposals to allow employers to buy out 1.6 weeks of annual leave if they preferred, rather than allowing employees to take it as holiday, or to require employees to carry over up to 1.6 weeks of annual leave into the next leave year where there was a genuine overriding business need. So it's watch this space as to when the government takes forward some of these proposals. However, as we mentioned a few moments ago, the government has recently decided to proceed with just one aspect of this consultation so far, which is a separate proposal to allow tribunals to order mandatory equal pay audits for employers who lose equal pay claims. Ed Gregory, an associate in our employment group, tells us more about this proposal.
The government has decided to proceed with allowing employment tribunals to order equal pay audits where an employer is found guilty of gender discrimination in relation to equal pay claims. Fortunately, there are some caveats to this under the proposals. Tribunals will not order audits where an audit has been completed in the last 3 years, the employer has transparent pay practices, or the employer can show a good reason why it would not be useful. This may seem a surprising development from a government seemingly committed to cutting red tape and the amount of regulation in employment law. However, the government's position is that the impact of the proposal will be limited to those employers who have breached the law and will be of real value to other employees where it applies. A consultation on the detail of the tribunal's power to order an audit will be launched later in the year. This will consider the likely impact of imposing the audits and the likely impact on employers settling cases. We understand that the government is looking to introduce legislation to bring the proposals into law as soon as parliamentary time allows. However, as it stands, the provision won't apply to claims presented within 6 months of the bill being passed, so this should help to ensure that the change won't take employers by surprise.
Thanks, Ed. Next up is the consultation on amendments to the Equality Act 2010. This looks like good news for employers in the long term, as it seeks views on removing the third-party harassment provisions in the Equality Act, removing the tribunal's power to make recommendations in discrimination cases, and abolishing what is often viewed as a troublesome claimant's favourite tool, the discrimination questionnaire procedure. We certainly can't see many employers mourning the loss of the questionnaire procedure, which has often been used by tactically savvy claimants as a fishing expedition to put pressure on employers at an early stage in proceedings before a claimant has even had to lodge a claim at tribunal. The consultation closes on the 7th of August and all interested parties are encouraged to respond. You can find details of how to do this on the Home Office website. Alternatively, we'd be happy to forward your views to the Home Office on your behalf if you'd prefer. Finally, we come to the current consultation on collective redundancies. This proposes to reform the rules on collective redundancy by reducing the 90-day minimum period for planned redundancies of 100 or more employees down to either 45 or 30 days. Introducing a new non-statutory code of practice on handling redundancies fairly, and revising existing government guidance so that it's accurate and easy to find. This consultation is open until the 19th of September. Again, all interested parties are encouraged to respond, or we'd be happy to forward your views to the Home Office for you if you prefer. So that's all for today from Addleshaw Goddard's Employment Channel. Thank you for watching and goodbye.